This is Dr. Ben Weitz with the Rational Wellness Podcast, bringing you the cutting edge information on health and nutrition from the latest scientific research and by interviewing the top experts in the field. Please subscribe to the Rational Wellness Podcast on iTunes and YouTube, and sign up for my free ebook on my website by going to drweitz.com. Let's get started on your road to better health. Hey, Rational Wellness Podcasters. Thank you so much for joining me again today. And I'm really excited to be talking about weight loss with Dr. Philip Goglia. Dr. Goglia is a celebrity nutritionist. He's helped thousands of people to lose weight. Philip has a Bachelor's of Science from Duke University in nutrition and a PhD in nutritional science. He's the official nutritionist for Gold's Gym and for several cycling teams, and now for the World Boxing Association or World Boxing Federation.
Committee. It's a committee.
Okay.
Committee.
He's the official nutritionist for the committee for the World Boxing Association.
World Boxing Committee.
And he,
oh my God.
And he wrote a best-selling, he's the chair of the committee, and he wrote a
bestseller.
A best-selling book.
I'm going to mess this podcast up.
Turn up the heat. Unlock the fat-burning power of your metabolism. Philip, thank you so much for joining me today and for being my friend for 25, 30 years.
Ben, what's up?
Good.
So hang on for a second. We were going over the questions before we started this podcast. And one of the big questions was, how do you keep people compliant? And I'm going to show you. Hang on. Don't go away. Stay right there. Hang on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hang on. Just gotta move some Hang on.
Are you going to bring out Lucille?
Here you go. Yeah. See? He's got wheels. He's a pig. His name is Herb, right? So when people don't follow their food program for like a week or 2 weeks, they don't write their foods down in their diary, I make them walk the pig.
Walk the pig?
Yeah, they take the pig outside. They take them for a walk on the leash. We take their picture, we post it on Facebook like some weird walk of swine. Something embarrassing. I'll tell you what, Chris Hemsworth walked the pig. Ryan Gosling's walked the pig.
Wow.
I was almost going to get Christian Bale to walk the pig recently. But
so they even come back after that.
I had one person, she was the president of Bank of America. She took the pig home for a week. She actually would take pictures of it and send it to me because she would bring the pig to the office every day with a water bowl.
Wow, sounds like that constitutes sexual harassment of the pig.
Right, no, it was crazy. Yeah, it was a whole swine lawsuit thing. So you want to know about compliance? That's how I do it in the office.
Okay.
Compliant thing. Yeah.
I thought you were going to bring out that bat that the guy in The Walking Dead has, that Lucille bat.
No, I've got something strong about a stick of bamboo. I just smack people with.
Okay.
The same one I use on my kid.
So Philip, can you tell us about your concept of metabolic typing that you use to categorize your clients so you can set up a nutrition program that works for each of them?
Of course. Look, this has been time-tested and true for years, really literally found in science and proven in practice since the early 80s. And ultimately what we discovered, this is way back at Duke University, that we discovered 3 metabolic structures that exist. Either someone is fat and protein deficient, carbohydrate deficient, or dual. And I'm going to give you the down and dirty Reader's Digest version of this so we can talk about other stuff. But this is the foundation for healthy food protocol. So based on lipid profiles, family health history, your own health history, you are typed based on how you manage your macronutrients, your fats, proteins, and carbs. Either someone is fat and protein deficient, carbohydrate deficient, or they have a dual structure. Your lipid profile will indicate that. Years ago, there was just like Pritkin-esque food programming, high carbs. Duke University used it. Dr. Pritkin out here on the West Coast used it. And many folks are on this high carbohydrate food protocol. They were literally falling asleep and gaining weight. And at the time, many of the doctors couldn't figure out why. So they just gave medication, be it thyroid or stimulants, thinking perhaps this was more of a metabolic disorder, when in fact it was more of a macronutrient mismanagement. So when you look at lipid profiles and you start to break down the indicators of how fats, proteins, and carbohydrates are used, if indeed you are falling asleep when you're eating these high carb food protocols, what we saw and discovered was that triglyceride levels were through the roof, which is a sugar management mechanism. It's like a marker. Another metric or marker is an HbA1c number, which is again a diabetic marker. All these numbers were elevated with high carbs. You know, we were practically literally making these patients diabetic, or at least a strong predisposition to it. Meanwhile, they had very high HDLs, good guy fats responsible for fat transport, super low LDLs, like how you store fat. So they were very efficient at fat and protein transport, but we weren't at the time with high carbs feeding them any carbs or any fats and proteins. So we pulled them off the carbs. We gave them fatty fish, peanut butter, and vegetables, and poof, these folks started losing weight like crazy. So ultimately, more than one metabolic structure. And it's simple to think about when you ask yourself, all right, let's take a look at a diabetic. So a diabetic is obviously somebody that can't manage sugars well. Let's say, for example, their friend lost 15 pounds on a vegetarian or vegan or Pritikin-esque food protocol. It doesn't suit them. Would it suit a diabetic to be on a vegetarian protocol when a vegetarian food program is literally all sugar and some nuts and seeds and fat, right? So if they can't manage sugar, why would they be on a food program that is high sugar? So certainly that doesn't work. Let's say, for example, your dad passed away from heart disease, and you yourself have very high, genetically high LDLs, very low HDLs, this inability to utilize fats well, and you store them as plaque, and your small little particles are high too. Why would you go on a high-fat food protocol? Like, it's just a bad idea. So Atkins-esque food programming or paleo or keto, it wouldn't work for you. So you got to look at your lipid profiles. What's great is that in our online system, G-Plans, there's a questionnaire in there. So you can type in your blood work, it'll type you. There's a questionnaire. If you don't have your blood work, it'll type you. But once understanding metabolic type, then your body no longer adapts to an inappropriate macronutrient pattern, and you regulate your weight much more effectively, and it is sustainable. The most important thing about any food program is it needs to be sustainable. If it's not, you're on the grapefruit and milk diet, you might lose 10 pounds, but then you're just going to gain it back later. And I think the big important thing to remember is don't be fooled by weight loss. In that now at 2018, you say, hey, I'm going to drop some weight, so I'm going to start this type of food program over here. Well, because you weren't on one to begin with and your calories were mishmashed and kind of all over the place, and now you're on one and your caloric heat patterns are stabilized, you're going to drop 10 pounds because you weren't on anything before. Does it suit you? That's the big question mark. That's like the $1 million question. Does it suit your chemical structure? So
I mean, you know, a lot of people would argue as long as you get off the standard American diet and start eating healthier, no matter which program it is, you're going to see benefits.
Yeah. And that's a great start. You know, that's a good civilian conversation. But you get to a point where you're on this food plan and then your body composition matches it, right? So nothing changes anymore. And the civilian will always say, oh, Jesus, I'm not changing. I need to do 3 more hours of exercise and I need to eat less. Well, calories are heat energy units. Metabolism is a function of that heat. If you don't eat enough heat, you can't burn fat. And remember, if you exercise more, you're breaking down muscle tissue. You're creating a larger, more expansive tissue breakdown, a catabolic event. So if you're training more, don't you need to eat more to repair the muscle tissue that you just broke down so you don't inflame? So the civilian will pull back on calories, increase exercise. The educated end user for nutrition will maintain or manage exercise strategies, but increase calories to support new muscular density. It is counterintuitive, but the more you eat, the more heat you consume, the more body fat you lose. And the big remembering thing here, especially with 2018, is you can step on the scale, but don't make it mean anything. Think about taking up less room in the room. Like Ben, when you buy a dress You know, you're after. I'm
Philip.
sorry. I'm gonna get sued.
That's supposed to be just between us.
I'm sorry. It's about when I buy a dress with Ben, we are after size. We want to reduce the size. We don't buy a dress weight. We buy a dress size. I wore velour today just for you. Isn't that nice? Speaking of dresses. So don't, you can use a scale if you want, but really, what you want is less room in the room. You want to be able to pull your jeans out of the dryer and go, damn, these things loose, they fit great. That's all you're looking for is body composition. And I tell everybody, athletes and the civilians alike, weigh as much as you can, take up less room in the room. Muscles heavy and dense. I mean, this is, remember, guys, hang on. I'm bringing it over. 5 pounds of muscle, 5 pounds of fat. That's light and fluffy. It does not take up a lot of heavy room. It takes up a lot of light room. And muscles, heavy and dense, doesn't take up much room at all. But that's the thing that supports your spine. Like, all the muscles around your spine support posture. Your spine doesn't support posture. You got to give your spine a little help. So if your muscle is anabolic, that's great. If it's catabolic, it's not so good, and you're inflating yourself. So I think you got to remember this too. It's funny. I always ask my patients, hey, the gym, you're training, it's going great. And they always say, yeah, it's awesome. Does the gym make you strong or does it make you weak? And I swear to God, 90% of the time, everybody says, well, it makes you strong, man. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Gym makes you weak, man. Gym breaks you down. And they look at you like a possum in headlights, like, what? And they don't understand, and well, they do after the conversation, but they don't understand initially that the gym breaks you down. That's where you get sore. There are only 2 places you repair muscle tissue and improve physique and performance. That's the kitchen and your bedroom. Get your sleep patterns in, create REM patterns, release growth hormone, tissue repair. You know, it's huge. So bedroom, kitchen, tissue repair, make friends with that damn kitchen and your food, and use the gym to break you down so that you can utilize your nutrients better. It's
Right.
simple.
So one of the good things about your metabolic typing is that right now it's common to say, put everybody on a ketogenic diet, go super low carbs, paleo, something like that. And, you know, as we talked about, just getting off the standard American diet, clearing up the junk food, everybody's going to see some improvements and some benefit and some weight loss.
Yeah.
But if they're not on the right program for them, then they'll hit a stalemate point.
You know, I think that the strategy, like, it's not just enough to say, clean up your diet. Like, what does that mean? So a couple things I want to address. Like, first thing, the keto, paleo, all that stuff, 70% of our population is literally fat and protein. 70% of us really do have an insulin issue. And that's why years ago, Dr. Atkins and Atkins food programming was so successful. And now every schmuck out there rebrands it. It drives me fucking nuts. So this guy really got it. You know, he saw that many folks were craving sugars. Usually you crave what you're most sensitive to. I'm sure he was assessing HbA1cs and trigs and stuff. And I'm sure that he saw that most folks respond better with fats and proteins. So Atkins, you know, killed it. He was really onto something. And look, a third of our population is diabetic. A third of that third, they don't even know they're diabetic. So a higher fat, higher protein, better managed carbohydrate food protocol really works. And Atkins was really the guy that said, look, man, don't eat carbs at night. What are you doing? You're not going to run a marathon after dinner, are you? You know, it's kind of like that. You're going to go to bed. So the carbs you consume at night, they'll prevent you from creating deep REM sleep. So you're going to wake up tired, exhausted. You're going to be craving sugars again. The best time to repair muscle tissue is when your body's at rest. So your biggest protein meal should be dinner. So big protein meal, vegetables for digestion, maybe a little simple sugar after dinner to spike insulin and drop you so it helps you sleep deep. But God damn it, no carbs at night. You know, be smart with your sugar placements. Consume them when you have or require an energy pattern in your day. So Atkins had something, and then he died. And then somebody said, man, that was so good. I'm going to call it South Beach. And then somebody said, oh, dude, that was so bad. That was so awesome. I dug that. I'm going to call that keto. I'm going to call that Sugar Busters. No, I'm going to come up with a new one. I'm going to call it paleo. You know, just give Atkins a little credit. I mean, even though he allowed you to have dairy that I completely don't agree with, the guy was onto something, and give him a heads up. Like, if you're going to call yourself paleo and bulletproof, at least give him a little forward and go, hey, Atkins was really onto something, and I expanded, and this is what I think. Don't tell me that you came up with this like out of the blue and it's totally cool and it's brand franking new. It's old news and it works, which is great. But Jesus, have a little ownership about it and spread the wealth. Was that okay? I was on a rant.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Hey, I found it interesting. I hope everybody else will. I think they will. So, when it comes to training, that the recommendations you make for training to your clients, in terms of how much cardiovascular versus strength training, considering set points, et cetera, what are your basic recommendations for?
So the easiest recommendation I have is go see Gunnar Peterson and talk to him.
There's a trainer that you work with.
Yeah, Gunnar is extraordinary, man. He's just like Gunnar's here, and then everybody else is,
okay. But so for people who are not going to hire a trainer,
aside from that, the questions are like this: what are you currently doing for your training? And they may say, hey, I do 45 minutes of cardio 3 times a week. Maybe it's HIIT training. Maybe it's interval structures. Maybe it's a combination of kickboxing, weights, cardio. And I always tell them, because they come in here concerned about weight management and their foods suck, right? So really, if you define weak muscles, what somebody's not so great at strategically, it's always their food. So you say, look, maintain your training for a moment. Let's not worry about that. In fact, back off of it a little bit if you want, and let's focus on your weak muscle, which happens to be your food. Once you square away foods and somebody is calorically supportive of exercise, then you can say, all right, let's discuss strategic management for exercise. What do you want your exercise to accomplish? Now, somebody might be saying, hey, I'm doing a ton of CrossFit. I love that stuff. I got 35 chin-ups today. I mean, I was all over the place. My form kind of sucked, but Jesus, I got 35 of them. It was epic. And the burpees I was doing, they're incredible. And then they say, my shoulders aren't like wider. Like, I don't understand. So look, if you want your physique to change, if you say, I want a wider back, I want more hamstring, then that is a traditional bodybuilding-esque conversation. And it could range from like a body part and a half today to one body part a day, abs and calves done daily with cardio afterwards. It really all depends what you want for physique or functional fitness. I work with tons of pro cyclists, pro triathletes. Their training patterns are periodized. They decondition, they recondition, and their conditioning structures have weights attached to it, and then cardiovascular work, static heart rate patterns, and then interval patterns, and then dynamic interval structures. It's different for everyone. And I think, again, you just get back to that conversation of sustainability. Like, what can you do for me this week based on your week? I know last week you gave me 5 days of cardio. They were all static heart rate at 140. That's awesome. What's your week look like this week? Can we continue it? Are you happy with your physique? And I think it is pretty individual for everybody.
But what about the client who comes in and they're not doing anything? Maybe they're taking a yoga class or 2 a week and they're not doing anything. And their main thing is they want to lose weight.
I say, thank God you're not doing anything. Let's get your foods right first. Usually when they go through their food program, because they're not training because they're tired and exhausted, and they're not willing to kind of take a leap of faith about it. And they don't believe that just outdoor walking for an hour is going to be beneficial. So they don't do it. They think it's not achievable based on lifestyle, right? So I say to them, look, let's eat breakfast. Let's have a snack. Let's actually eat some lunch that isn't a lettuce leaf. And then let's get real dinner in that isn't bread. So in that let's fix up your foods first in those civilian terms. No yeast, no mold, no dairy, no gluten. That's the strategy. That's a measurable thing you can tell somebody to do. No dairy means, no dairy. No, don't eat phlegm. There's not, if you line up 20 of the best athletes in the world and you say, hey, I came here to take your dairy order, no one's going to give you one. It inhibits oxygen use, adversely affects digestion, promotes gastric heat. No one's consuming any dairy. Like, I don't mind someone's non-fat cappuccino. I'm not going to take that away from you, but Christ, don't sit there and eat a wedge of cheese and tell me you feel okay because you're just farting up a storm. It's not happening. And then no yeast, no mold, no gluten just means no baked goods, no breads, muffins, bagels, Hoyt bread, sandwich breads, nothing mashy and fluffy that is potentially inflammatory. Focus on your even beans, legumes, soy. So focus on your one ingredient starches like oatmeal, oat flakes, oat puffs, yams, sweet potatoes, rice. Look at your starches and go, how many ingredients are in you? And if we tell you more than one, don't eat the damn thing. Stay away from it. So strategically, that's great for a civilian. And then when it comes to the exercise portion of this, get the foods right first so you have energy, so you sleep deep, so you wake up feeling pretty damn refreshed. You see some weight loss, and at some point you're going to say, man, you know what? I got enough energy to do something. What do you recommend? Well, what's your lifestyle look like? Well, I got 2 kids. I'm up early in the morning. Well, do you have a stationary bike at the house? No. Well, go buy one. That way you can put a baby monitor in front of it. You can get on the bike. You can cycle, static heart rate, 130 beats a minute or something with an even tempo, nice cadence for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Periodize your training and work your way up. Just don't go out and think you're gonna knock out an hour of cardio or turn into Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger when you go to the gym, because it's not gonna happen. Be smart and periodize it so it's achievable.
Is it important to get some weight training in to build muscle?
I love weight training, but remember, and weight training is a component of muscular building, but most folks come in here so damn underfed that the minute I start to give them chicken breast consistently, they gain muscle. It's all about repair. So repair first. Like, are your calories so low? Are you eating like a 12-year-old anorexic that is texting people while they're eating their lettuce leaf? The calories so low that you can't exercise because just your day-to-day activity is breaking down muscle tissue and you're not repairing it. You're actually literally creating a wasting syndrome because your calories are so ridiculously off. It's counterintuitive. You and I, we've been training for years, man. 35 years of training for us. I mean, it's what we do. And now I race stupid bicycles, even worse, So be it cardio. I mean, cardio, it's strength. You can be on an incline. Whenever you're moving, you're breaking down muscle tissue and increasing muscular strength. You're trying to find some balance, some homeostasis to the perceived exertion you created, be it pushing a weight or cardio or kickboxing, whatever it is. It's going to make you stronger.
What are your favorite weight loss supplements?
Methamphetamine, heroin, ketamine is crazy because it just knock you down. You won't eat for days.
Non-pharmaceutical.
Yeah. Vodka. If you drink a bottle of vodka a day, you will not eat.
You might have a fatty liver.
This is so stupid. You won't be able to air this. This is crazy. This is going to go to can thing underneath your desk. Man, Goglia was fun, but I can't do this for this guy again.
What do you think about L-carnitine, green tea?
I think they all have their places, but I don't think they fix pizza. They don't fix pizza. They don't fix a missed meal, right?
Oh, I understand. But after you have them on a good eating program, you got them exercising. What kinds of hacks can you do to give them an edge?
I love supplementation. So I take a ton of crap because, I'm 58 years old and I race bicycles with younger guys that try to hurt me. So in the scope of supplementation, you have to say to yourself, well, what can I manage on my daily basis? Like I take like 35 pills at a time, because I'm trying to do stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
So does somebody have that lifestyle? Probably not, unless you're like a paid athlete. So you got to say, what am I concerned about? Well, my immune system, it always sucks. All right, so fine. If you're breathing the LA air, you should take a multivitamin. Not a bad idea. You want to always promote deep REM sleeps because that's great for life extension. It's anti-inflammatory. And in that deep REM place, your body releases growth hormone. You burn more fat, you burn more muscle tissue. Well, what will get you there other than like some med, right? So calcium, magnesium, zinc. It relaxes muscle tissue. It keeps muscles from cramping. It reduces spasm, so it promotes a relaxation environment like sleep hygiene. It's such a buzzword. So it helps you with your sleep hygiene, so you sleep deeper. So CalMag Zinc at night. L-carnitine for fat transport, a fantastic product. Again, it doesn't fix pizza, but it certainly helps to transport fats, and it is great for cholesterol management. Green tea, any thermogenic, green tea, taurine, caffeinated groupings, citrulline malate, beta-alanine, all these things have a place in metabolism, but need to be strategically taken. And I would absolutely not use some type of commercial grade powder with all this stuff in it, where you would use it and then amp yourself up. So if you're amped out of your mind,
like these pre-workout formulas,
man,
which apparently is the most popular sports supplement category.
That's why you can't stop the cocaine trade. Now the cartel's going to come after me. I'm never going to do another podcast. I can't talk. Lisa, my wife, she says, "You're such a liability." I think she's right.
Do you ever recommend a meal replacement shake or medical food? Or
I love whey protein shakes. I love the use of shakes, assuming they're prescriptive grade, like they're of a real pharmaceutical quality, and the amino acids haven't been spiked, where they're adding more amino acids in to compensate for a lower grade protein that isn't complete. We always use a pharmaceutical whey protein here, which is great. Remember, proteins are scored on a 100 to 0 chart for biological use, and our whey protein, RSA score is $1.17, so it's great. The plant-based proteins, though, are always lower. Some people have gut issues, IgG issues, where they can't manage whey. So then look at a collagen protein, look at a meat-based protein, maybe even egg. The plant-based, some people really respond well to them, but it's just of a lower biological use factor, and those amino acids are always pulled from a plant or carbohydrate base. Just facts, just something you want to remember, not blasting anybody, because I think all proteins have their place. And if you're going to take a protein shake, then make a meal out of it. Add a fruit and a half to it in the blender, like a banana, a handful of berries. Add a tablespoon of almond butter into it. And always almond butter over peanut butter, because remember, peanut butter is not a nut, it's a legume. It's like the trailer trash of nuts. It's high mold, it's very inexpensive, that's why it's cheap. So almond butter is a better choice. Don't wick it, keep the oil in there, because that's what you're looking for. So a tablespoon of almond butter, your fruit and a half, your protein powder, water and ice, blend it up and drink the thing. It'll make literally like an entire blender full of stuff. Use it as meal number one.
Yeah. Sounds good. One more question.
Of course it sounds good. Sorry.
Well, I throw in some green vegetables and probably some flax.
Are you okay with getting hate mail? You're going to get hate mail about these podcasts.
No, I don't get much hate mail.
Thank God.
I mean, sometimes we get some thumbs down, negative comments, but it's, most 90% of comments are positive. So.
Oh, thank God. Let's see how this one goes.
So for the last question for today, how do you address the psychological aspects of losing weight? And there's a whole lot, everything from people who just overeat for psychological reasons, anorexia, there's a whole bunch of different problems that come with.
Here's my serious coaching side. People come in here and see me for nutrition because it is their weak muscle. Either they don't understand the strategy, they tried multiple diets and they failed, and they come in here feeling pretty damn broken. And I was a 270-pound fat kid. I'm, a cancer survivor, the whole bit. I was not and should not have been a good athlete, and then, worked hard and turned into one. Working hard. So the definition of that is, don't be afraid to make a mistake. Like, small mistakes will lead to great gains and a lot of wisdom, like turn wounds into wisdom type thing. So when you think about your nutrition and experimenting with something new, keep an open mind and know that perfection is found in the attempt of doing it, not in the actual execution of it, because, the world is imperfect and so are we. Little mistakes lead to improvement. Everything has a consequence. Like, an apple pie is not an apple. So don't confuse the two. You know what I mean? Everything has a consequence. Water intake. Diet soda is not water. Coffee is not water. If you got to get your water in and you're trying to consume an ounce per pound of body weight or half an ounce per pound, set up a ritual. Line up your water bottles at night before bed. Make sure they're full. Put out your workout clothes before you go to bed. It's not so much motivation that's a concern. It's, how do I set up a strategy? The definition of a strategy is really a ritual. If I use these rituals, they'll create tipping points of action for me, and then I'll do it. It's great. Now, let's say it's just absolutely not working for you. That's a conversation about fear. Like, you've been overweight for 35 years, and now you started dropping weight, and then you started gaining weight again. Dropping weight, though it's more functional, will feel dysfunctional and scary to people. So many times they do things to fail. They justify why they had the candy bar. Bad hair day, my boss yelled at me. Oh my God, my girlfriend forced me to eat the triple chocolate cake at night. Oh, I didn't have dinner because my kid was screaming. We can justify anything. I can justify running a red light, whatever. I can justify all kinds of crap. You've got to be unreasonable. The most successful people I know are unreasonable people. Even Ben, for as reasonable as you appear, you're an unreasonable bastard because you're so successful. You'll be the first person to say, wait. I'll be right with you. I just have to drink my water. I'll be right out. That's unreasonable. So the reasonable stuff is familiar stuff. And the familiar stuff can many times be dysfunctional, even though it feels comfortable. Like every heroin user I work with, yeah, it's very comfortable. It feels good, but it's a little dysfunctional. I mean, let's face it. I just, it's not something I want to use all the time. So, sorry, why do I keep on going back to heroin and cocaine? I don't know. It's like the 80s. People are going to send you hate mail. They are. So look, seriously.
We're having a conversation about weight loss and we're talking about heroin.
Cocaine, I know. White powder. Wow. So set up rituals. Do not judge yourself. And tell yourself repeatedly, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen if I eat this chicken breast? Pull the skin off the chicken breast. Be unreasonable, set up rituals. And then here are two really great questions. Like, let's say your food program isn't working, right? And it's all screwed up. It's all over the place. Ask yourself, put yourself in the center of that conversation. Ask yourself, who am I being not to have this food program work for me? Ask yourself, am I being too reasonable? Am I being too accommodating to my friends and eating pizza when I shouldn't be? Am I just lazy? Am I not motivated? What am I scared? Identify those traits, those triggers, and put them in a safe place and say, you know what, I'm going to respect those triggers and I'm going to work on it because those are my weak muscles. And that's what's keeping me from creating an extraordinary life for myself. Ask yourself the next question. If my foods were working, what would it look like? Well, I'd have breakfast, I'd have a snack, I'd have lunch, I wouldn't eat bread, I'd stay away from cheese, I'd have my 2 snacks in the afternoon. Final question, and this is so important. Write it down. Who do I need to be to make that happen? Make a list. Who do I need to be? I need to be the rat that wakes up at 5 in the morning and knocks out an hour of cardio with a tablespoon of jam and almond butter, and then into my first meal. I need to be that guy that's first to work. So I get my oatmeal in with an egg. Whatever that looks like to you, who do you need to be to make that happen? And I know, like, subconsciously, Ben, you and I, we ask if we're trying to improve our business and stuff, like, we're always asking ourselves stuff like that. We put ourselves in the center of that wheel and all the spokes are around us, but we are the center of that hub. So we either screw it up or we own it. And when we screw it up, good, because that's an opportunity to figure out the next strategy and to be successful. Don't sit there and cry in your little corn chips. Figure out the next step and move forward. It's okay to fail. How many light bulbs did Edison try to make, or Alexander Bell, or whoever the hell it was? Bell. Was it Bell that did the light bulb?
Yes.
See, I'm an idiot. I know nothing about anything except fish and chicken. That's all I know. I don't know shit about it. How many light bulbs did that guy make before he actually got one to work? He didn't see them as failures. He just saw them as like light bulbs that didn't turn on yet. That's us. Don't flip the switch and be complacent. Don't say, I'm too broken. Create an opportunity for yourself and move forward. And that's why guys like you, me, Gunnar Peterson, some of the other folks, the professionals that we work with, the doctors that you connect with, man, that's why their patients see them, because they want to leave their office with a little piece of wisdom each time that they can use in their life to improve them, to make them feel better about everything. That's not helping or fixing, that's being of service. And that's what you do. That's what I try to do every day.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again,
that was so
Phil.
Serious. I mean, to finish on something. Sorry. Do you want to bring the pig out again? Let's just rehash. We talked about the pig. I'm wearing velour for you, and you and I often go dress purchasing. That's the takeaway today for Nutrition 101. We'll talk to you next month. This has been amazing. Dr. Ben Weitz, thank you so much for joining us today. This was epic.
See you, Phil.